All right, guys, let's have a quick chat, shall we? So it has started. I have started to get texts, DMs, comments, emails from my friends first, and then from clients, and now even from readers. Everybody wants to know what the heck is up with their cycle and why it's late. And if you're pretty sure you're not pregnant and you're wondering why your period might be late this month, stick around because I'm going to walk you through it and also teach you how to figure out when to expect your period, so you are not taking 700,000 pregnancy tests every day. The first thing is just make sure that, you know, this information is not intended to be a substitute for you going to see the doctor. If something seems really off about your cycle or your, you know, women's health, female organs, please make sure to visit your OBGYN. This information is intended to be informational only, not diagnostic. All right, now we can get started. So if you experience some cycle irregularities this month, not surprising. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it with myself. I was waiting for it with other people. And also this information probably does not apply to you if you're on birth control. Okay, so you can skip over this. But if you are on birth control and you're wondering what the heck is going on with your cycle, I was expecting these texts and messages that I've been getting. Y'all, here's what happens. Okay, think about the female body is actually really, really cool and designed for survival. So here's what's happening. If your body detects any kind of stress, okay, any kind of stress, so that's metabolic stress, physiological stress, or psychological stress / emotional stress, okay, anything that is stressful and would elicit stress hormones. Some of those stress hormones are adrenaline, epinephrine, but another big one is cortisol. Okay, cortisol is produced by the adrenal glands that sit on top of the kidneys, and it's produced in response to almost any kind of stress. Now, its intent is to give us energy, make us more clear in the case of an emergency, like if we were hunters and gatherers, if we were running from a tiger. Problem is none of us are running from a tiger. We are currently, right now in this situation, trying to adjust to our new normal and process all the information that we're taking in. And so that is stress on the body. Other things that could be considered stress on the body, a lot of times people see cycle irregularities from traveling. And one could be like traveling because you're traveling for work and it's stressful, but another could be like leisure, happy activity traveling can even cause cycle irregularities because you're going from seeing the same thing every day and your body being used to inputting certain images to brand new images all the time. And in theory, obviously we don't have any like hard research on this, but in theory, that could also be stressful, leading to cycle irregularities, along with, you know, issues with time zone change and all that kind of stuff. So that's travel, but none of us are probably doing that right now, right? So we won't talk about that. We also have other issues that can cause cycle irregularities would be undereating carbohydrates specifically, and overtraining, okay? So any kind of stressors on the body can cause cycle irregularities. Typically, your cycle goes right back to normal after the stress is ended. But in the situation that we're in now, where we're all in quarantine, there's kind of like an initial blow as like things close and things change and you're scared and you're processing information, and that is very stressful on the body, okay? So what likely, more than not, 99.9% of the cases when your cycle is delayed or your period is delayed, what is happening is your body is saying, okay, there's stress happening. And so because there's stress happening, it doesn't distinguish whether the stress is emotional, physiological, whatever. It just knows there's stress happening. And because there's stress happening, it says, now is not a good time for reproduction. And so it delays or stops ovulation. So this is likely what's happening if your period has been delayed a few days, is that your ovulation was delayed. Now let's talk about phase 1 and 2. There's phase 1 of your cycle called the follicular phase, and it goes from day 1 to ovulation. And then there's a luteal phase that goes from ovulation to the day of your period. Your luteal phase almost never varies, almost never. Right? So for me personally, I know mine is 10 to 12 days. That is on the shorter end, and that is why I needed progesterone support during pregnancy. Most people's will be 14 to 16 days. If you've been tracking your cycle regularly, you should know how many days from ovulation to your period you should have. Now, if you haven't been tracking your cycle recently, I put up a whole blog post today about all of this information, as well as a recommendation for a book. So you can go to that blog post and check out the book and all my recommendations to start learning about how to track whether you're ovulating or not. You know, you can use cervical mucus, or you can use those little ovulation tests. There's a lot of ways to track it, but either way, your luteal phase almost never varies, okay? So if my luteal phase in particular is 12 days, and I know that I typically ovulate a little later than the norm on day 16, I usually expect my period still on day 28. But if I don't ovulate this month because my body is perceiving a lot of stress until day 20, 22, then I would add 12 days to when I started to see really peak ovulation signs to that day. So if it was day 20, I would add 12 days to day 20. And now I know not to expect my period till day 32. Okay, so if you're wondering when to expect your period, look at if you've been tracking. And I find that most women who are on birth control are tracking their cycle in some way, and usually tracking fertility signs. If you're not, like I said, there's a great book called Taking Charge of Your Fertility. I highly recommend that you read it. But anyway, the other thing that can happen is an anovulatory cycle. So an anovulatory cycle is when there's sometimes an LH surge, sometimes not, but your body doesn't ovulate. Okay, so this can happen as a fluke, or it can happen in response to stress, and it only happens about 3 to 5% of the time. So it's less likely that this is what's happening, but it absolutely can be what happens. So one of two things happens then. You either eventually ovulate and then start your period however many luteal days afterwards, or eventually your progesterone drops, maybe your estrogen, you know, gets kind of tricky here. So maybe your estrogen rose and your progesterone did kick in, and then it eventually drops off and your body restarts itself. Sometimes people need progesterone support, but sometimes it usually just kicks in itself, either by kicking in itself or eventually ovulating. So if you feel that you're having an anovulatory cycle, so in other words, you have not got ovulation yet, but it's well past 30 days, or you did get an ovulation positive sign, typically not. It could be by tracking in any way that you're tracking, but your period's not here and you're getting negative tests. That's a little trickier. If you're expecting pregnancy, y'all, go talk to your doctor. If you're not expecting pregnancy, you can wait it out. Keep taking tests every few days to make sure that you're not pregnant. If you're 100% sure that you're not pregnant, you can wait it out and then, you know, seek a doctor if it just doesn't come. And, you know, how many days should you go before seeking a doctor? I'm not really sure. Everybody's hormone history is different. So I can tell you what I would do for me, because my hormone history is really tricky, but what you might do might be something else, okay? But an anovulatory cycle can happen. And it's not common, but your body will probably just kick back in, and it may be a result of stress, or it may be just delayed ovulation. We're not totally sure. Okay, so the next question that I've been getting is, a lot of you are seed cycling. If you don't know what seed cycling is, again, check out today's post. Check out my highlight. If you're watching this on Instagram, I have a highlight of if you're watching this on Instagram, I have a highlight of seed cycling, so you can find the post there. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put a link below, or Facebook, but either way, check out seed cycling if you've never heard of it. If you've been doing seed cycling to promote hormone balance, and now all of a sudden your cycle's crazy and you're like, I don't know what to do with this, you have 3 options. One, and the best option, and the woo-woo option, is to start with the moon calendar. And so you'll look at the moon calendar and you'll actually follow the directions for syncing up your seed cycling with the moon calendar. I would think this is pretty nutso too, because like I'm telling you to sync your cycle with the moon. But I have seen it work so many times in clients that I can't discard it. And keep in mind, y'all, I have a whole video on seed cycling questions and answers. I have a whole post on seed cycling question and answers, but it boils down to, this is hormone support doesn't cause your hormones to do very much of anything. It's not well researched. It's a great way to get healthy fats in and support your hormones. Whatever choice you choose is not going to be the end all be all. So choice one, and my most recommended choice, is start seed cycling with the moon cycles as outlined in my seed cycling download on the blog, which you can get if you're an email subscriber. You just go to my library of resources and it's in there. You can use one of the download forms. But yeah, so that information's all there. Number two, you can continue phase one seed cycling until you see signs of ovulation. So you could stay on the flax and hemp seed as long as you want until you see signs of ovulation. Or on the flip side, on day 14, you can transition to the pumpkin sunflower seed phase 2 protocol and stay on that until you start your period. Again, either way, you're getting lots of healthy fats, lots of fiber, both of which are shown to support hormone health. So either way, any of those three options you choose will be fine, okay? So I hope this video helps you chill out a little bit. I hope this video helps you know if your period's delayed, when you can expect your period by looking back at your ovulation. I hope it's informational. I hope it kind of helps you understand a little bit more about stress and your hormone health. I have lots of posts on this topic, how to make your hormones work for you, including like nutrition and exercise strategies for every single week in your cycle if you're really into it. I have a post about carbs and hormones and how that works. I have a lot of hormone fertility posts, so make sure you check out the post on the blog today so that you can also check out those other posts too, or look at my hormone category on the blog. So lots of great options, and let me know if you have any questions, and it would be fun to comment below if you've experienced irregularity this month, because Lord knows that most people I talk to have. So yeah, let me know if you guys have questions. I hope this is helpful.